right, here we go. Welcome back. And today we're going to take a look at the French Revolution Part 3. So the radical days of the revolution. This is the time period where the revolution is in full swing and people really just go nuts. So on August 10th, 1792, a crowd of Parisians stormed the royal palace and slaughtered the king's guards. The royal family fled to the Legislative Assembly before the mob was able to reach them. In September of 1792, citizens attacked prisons that held nobles and priests accused of political offenses. About 1,200 prisoners were killed. In 1793, the revolution entered its most radical phase, and for a year, France experienced one of the most bloodiest regimes as determined leaders sought to extend and preserve the revolution. And if you've been doing your reading, you know that this time period was known as the Reign of Terror. The National Convention. Backed by Paris crowds, radicals took control of the assembly. Here they called for the election of a new legislative body called the National Assembly. Under the National Assembly, all male citizens were granted the right to vote. In September of 1792, the National Convention met and voted to abolish the monarchy and to establish a republic. Also created along with the new French Republic was a new constitution. So we have the Constitution of 1793. During the early months of the French Republic, Louis XVI was put on trial and convicted of treason by a single vote. Louis XVI was executed by a guillotine on a foggy morning in January of 1793. Marie Antoinette, his wife, would follow her husband to the guillotine and was executed in October of the same year. So the Committee of Public Safety. By the early 1793, France was at war with much of Europe as well as dealing with their own revolution. In order to deal with the many threats to France, the National Convention created the Committee of Public Safety. The committee was made up of 12 members and was given absolute power as it battled to save the revolution. To fund the war effort, the committee issued the levy en masse, which was just an additional tax that required all citizens to contribute to the war effort. The committee was also in charge of all trials and executions, and we'll see later that this becomes a huge problem for France. But first, let's take a look at Maximilien Robespierre. Robespierre was a shrewd lawyer and politician that quickly rose to the leadership position over the Committee of Public Safety. Robespierre embraced Rousseau's idea of the general will as the source of all legitimate law. He promoted religious tolerance and wanted to end slavery. Robespierre also became known as the architect of the Reign of Terror, which lasted from 1793 in September to July of 1794. So during the Reign of Terror, revolutionary courts conducted speedy trials where those convicted of crimes against the revolution were quickly executed. And it really didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what position you held, what family you came from, or any of that. If you were seen as impeding the revolution, then you were executed. You were put on trial and executed. Robespierre even executed his own members of the Committee of the Public Safety. So the trials were conducted in public, and spectators greeted death sentences with "Hail the Republic" or "Death to the traitors." On the right hand of the screen, let's take a look at this quote that Maximilian gives us. And this is his reasoning for the Reign of Terror. So let's take a look and see what it says. "It is necessary to stifle the domestic and foreign enemies of the Republic or perish with them. The first maxim of our politics ought to be to lead the people by means of reason and the enemies of the people by terror. If the basis of popular government in time of peace is virtue, the basis of popular government in time of revolution is both virtue and terror." And once again, that is by Maximilien Robespierre. And he said those words on February 5th of 1794. During the Reign of Terror, about 300,000 were arrested and 17,000 were executed via guillotine. Within a year, the terror consumed those who initiated it. Weary of bloodshed and the fearing for their own lives, members of the convention turned on the Committee of Public Safety. Robespierre was arrested on the night of July 27, 1794, and was executed the next day. So here's the question of the day. What were the goals of the Committee of Public Safety? And as always, don't forget to read and take notes over the Reign of Terror and Lesson W.3. Thanks for watching.